you're not following up enough, and you're not posting on social media enough. I promise you, especially on LinkedIn, and especially doubly if you're a podcast host. It's sort of your job to be always posting, always promoting, and making your guests look good, right? I can't tell you how many podcast episodes I've been a guest on, and I never found out later on if it ever went live or whatever became of it. So if you can be someone who is just forever and ever always going back and reposting about that excellent podcast guest you had, and also following up with the podcast guest yourself, then that will be the difference maker between your podcast being, say, like a content channel or something that's kind of like a waste of your time versus something that actually grows your business and helps others and is a way for you to be valuable to other people. So let's look at this really quickly, right? Let's look at LinkedIn, which is like, it seems like every year this platform grows into just what we wish Facebook would have been, right? Facebook for business, which I think there is a term like that with fan pages, but everyone thought that social media would be like the new forum, the new message board, the new way to reach people. But the problem with platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram is that it's entertainment value. And LinkedIn is the place to actually do business. And all day, every week, I make sales, I get clients, I land business, I have meetings because of LinkedIn, because people here on LinkedIn to actually make money, to build and grow their business. And it's no longer just a resume site. It's a way for people who want to make money and want to get clients and want to expand their thought leadership can post and interact and make connections. But here's the problem, is that I look at 200 plus Amazon book pages per day, and I probably visit 50 to 100 LinkedIn profiles per day. And when I'm doing my research on someone, there's kind of a difference between someone that posts a lot and someone that is mentioned a lot versus someone where I search their name, especially authors. It's really sad. I search for an author's name and I don't see much. And so let me show you an example. This guy, Mark Savant, he was a really cool guy who was on my podcast. And if I search his name, not just to find him as a person, but to look on posts and see what's being said about him, here's Andrew Weiss. Here is Brandon Young. Here is me. So there's a thing with Google called EEAT, right? Experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And what that means is that other people need to be talking about you, right? If you're an expert on AI, then you need to be mentioned by many other experts in that knowledge tree graph, other authoritative people saying that you yourself are an authoritative person when it comes to AI. Now, how do you do that? Well, the old school way would be to get guest blog posts or to land speaking gigs on other people's platforms, OPP, as the kids say. But the new way of doing it, probably an easier and more accessible way, is to be on podcasts. So that's what has led someone to you, right? You have a podcast, you have a platform, you have guests. Someone is probably doing a tour of other shows, other platforms, because they want to perform the repetitions and they want to be known as an AI expert, as a business coach, as a book coach, as a leader of some kind. And you are one of the stops that they made. But unfortunately, if you search many of these different people, then you don't find much. And so let me just search. So for example, this guy, Dr. Ayo Olatoyi, if I can copy his name, I'm curious what shows up, right? If someone says, well, does this guy know what he's talking about? Well, it looks like it is so because he's on different shows. So I look for posts with his name, and I recommend you do this with yourself, right? See what posts are made about you. And so he has a few pages worth. And so we say, okay, well, now he speaks a lot on the audacity of thinking big. So he is authoritative in what he does. But then many times I'll search someone and I won't find much. I'm actually trying to find, so Dan John, let's see. So he has a book called Leading with Impact. And let's see, I keep trying to find someone that doesn't have a lot. So we find posts about Dan John. He's on Authority Magazine. And so I guess the lesson here is that you need to get caught up, right? And and you can do your part. So someone appeared on your podcast show. You need to be making a few posts like this, and it's kind of guaranteed engagement because we all have made those posts on platforms and just like no one viewed it, no one liked it, no one commented. But if someone tags you in a post and they talk about the smart things that you said, especially if you were on their podcast, then you want to like that, right? You want to reshare that. And so let's talk about that and what we can do as far as posting about someone. Because here's what this is leading to, is using ChatGPT to write a LinkedIn article. And I'll walk you through this whole process right now. And what we're doing is we're making a blog post about this guy, Michael Peterson, and we need to do a little bit of research on him, right? Because he was on our podcast a couple of times. I've narrated 3 of his books, so we have those books available to us as well. And when you post a podcast episode, so like right here, here's his podcast appearance, right? Here's his picture, here's his bio, and then here is him on YouTube. And what he should do is he should go to this YouTube video and he should leave a comment thanking me for having him on his show, and he should share this to his own platform. And what we've done, I know we're kind of getting in all these different subtopics, what we've done to make it easier is I have gone through and put my podcast episodes through ChatGPT to create these sort of promotional materials, we call them, and we run the podcast through Otter or Descript, which are tools that will take in an audio file or a video and output a written transcript. And then we can push those all into ChatGPT, and we can say things such as, I want you to give a comment to the person and hand them to this guest and say, hey, here's a comment I wrote for you, as if it's from you, that you can and should go and paste under our video. And then here's a post for you that you should post on your LinkedIn profile. And here's a promotional email from you that you should blast to your email list. And here are some tweets from you that you should post on your Twitter profile. And then here are 3 more emails that you can schedule out into your autoresponder sequence for the coming 6 months or 12 months. And here are 3 more LinkedIn posts that you should post later on. And so what we end up with is every one of my guests, we have this folder, and this is fairly newish as far as my process. We have this folder containing 3 or so Canva graphics that have a quote. So there's like their picture, there's a quote that they made that they can then post on their Instagram or on their LinkedIn. We have a few reels. So we use a tool called Veed or sometimes Opus to create these 59-second clips. And you've seen these, right? Where there's the captions on the bottom. And then we have the output from what I showed you. So we said things like, go to this YouTube link and you can put, what an engaging discussion with Robert. What an amazing podcast experience with Robert. And then we have, here's what the output is as far as the LinkedIn post, right? And here is the tweets that he could have. Here we go. And some promotional emails. So if you've ever signed up as an affiliate for an affiliate program with someone who knows what they're doing, this is what we're going for, right? We just make it so easy where they can just paste whatever platforms they have. If they have Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, an email list, LinkedIn presence, then they can just schedule on all these different platforms, and we make it easier for them. And there's a term called herding cats, right? HERDING, right? Like pushing cats to where you want them to go. And even with all this, it still will take some amount of following up again and again just to get them to take a small little bit of action, but that's okay because most of your competitors won't go to the trouble. And the end result we end up with is something like this. So I go to my own YouTube and I look, and as part of this, I've sent them to the YouTube video of their podcast episode. And so we end up with all these comments, right? 21 hours ago, 22 hours ago, a day ago, a day ago. And most of the time they didn't even use the comment that we gave them, but they said things like, thanks for having me on your podcast. Then we look at our YouTube or LinkedIn presence, and John Morris mentioned me 33 minutes ago. We have 10 hours ago, 16 hours ago, Mark Savant, 18. So we can scroll, and this is slightly more engagement than I get. But if we can keep up the momentum and continuously market or follow up with our podcast guests and say, hey, did you leave a comment on YouTube? Can you make this LinkedIn post? If you tag me, and these are just the people that have tagged me. And so I don't even know if I search my own name or if I search my podcast name, if there are other people who are mentioning their appearance on my show that they just haven't even tagged me, and I need to go. And so here we go. So like, here's Paul Lemberg. He posted, just didn't tag me. So I will repost this as well. And isn't this what you should be doing, right? In the eyes of social media, in the eyes of Google, as far as like having your network of friends, of allies, you should all be highly engaging with each other because they were on your podcast to develop a relationship with you, right? And a lot of people, they kind of throw around this term relationship and they say things like, well, I just want to connect with people, but what's the point, right? And maybe you won't buy from each other, but if they're your referral sources, actually put your money where your mouth is. And so we're going to walk us through, with all that out of the way, we're going to walk us through, because I wanted to explain to you what I'm doing here, right? I've got guests on my podcast. After the show goes live, I follow up and say, hey, here's where it's live. Here's the web page on Apple Podcasts. Here's the YouTube version. But in the past, that hasn't really amounted to all that much. Like I've made some clients, but I feel like if I have 100, so I've had almost 1,200 episodes of my podcast. If I get 100 guests, I end up with 5, maybe 10 new friends, and I want to increase that number. So what I've been doing is I do the quick follow-up. I post on, especially LinkedIn, I tag them. But then what I've been doing more recently is I've been doing this thing where I have kind of the media kit, right? The affiliate kit. And then I go to them and I say something like this. I go back to the email chain where I previously notified them about the episode being live. And I say things like, well, here's a link to this Google folder. And so this is my Google Drive right here, right? This is, I use Google Desktop to sync this. So this person, Michael Peterson, has his own Google folder. And I went to the trouble of sharing the folder itself with his email address. That way he gets a separate notification. I set the folder to be publicly accessible. And then when I followed up, I mail merged the Google Drive link here. So I just linked him to this Google Drive with all of these materials that I mentioned. And I also followed up again, because you can't follow up enough, right? And I said, hey, here's the YouTube link and here's the podcast episode. Tag me as Robert Plank. Just all these things to make it easy because they came on your show for a reason in order to promote them. And it's a two-way street, right? They promote their stop on your show, but you're also promoting them. And so what I've been doing, to give you all the context, when they go to this trouble and they reshare it, now I take it the next step, because as long as they keep engaging, I'll keep engaging. And what the next step is, after they're on my show, I follow up with them, I post and promote, I give them all these materials. Now they are then posting and promoting as well. Then the next step is I write a blog post about them. And a lot of people don't know that you can do something like this and write like a long form blog post on LinkedIn. And I do have a website, I do have a blog, but you figure, if you post on social media, post on LinkedIn, maybe it gets seen more or in a different way. And with ChatGPT, you can write these long blog posts if you know what you're doing. And so what we can do in LinkedIn, click on our profile, and we scroll down, and here's our posts and things like that. And there's posts which have you can write a lot of text, but there's a limit to the length. But articles, this is what they call blog posts on LinkedIn. When you have a blog post, it can be a lot longer, and you can sandwich in first of all, you can link to stuff, but you can sandwich in YouTube videos and images and things like that. And if I were to dress this up a little bit more, I would put in some images as well, but let's not get crazy. Let's just write a blog post from start to finish. And you know what we'll do, since we're kind of long in the tooth on this YouTube video, now that I've explained the kind of the process, the follow-up process as far as a podcast guest, we'll make a separate video here. And so we'll link to this in the description, and we'll say, we're going to create a blog post for this guy, Mike Peterson. We're going to do some research, and we'll show the kind of the larger context. He came on my show, and he dropped some knowledge, but there's more to him, right? There's other accomplishments. There's things that we did not have time to mention on the podcast, and that's where the long-form blog post will come in, and this will kind of be like a newspaper article, right, for this person. And so we have kind of the podcast where we mention a few things, and we mention like quotes and stuff like that, but we'll mention about all of his accomplishments combined with the uniqueness of what he mentioned on the podcast. Because, you know, someone that they have their kind of their core values, right? They have their foundation, but then they appear on your podcast and they mention things that are like different, that are on their mind. There's a unique angle, a unique take. And so we'll get into that in this next video. I didn't plan on doing a part 1, part 2, but I just got so carried away explaining this podcast process here of creating these kind of marketing materials and following up with the guest. And especially now that they're kind of on that level, then it's time to take things to kind of the next step where they give some value and we give some value, right? You consider that perhaps like you meet someone, right? You make a connection on LinkedIn. Maybe that's like level 1. And then they appear on your podcast and you record a 20-minute episode together over Zoom. That's level 2. And then you post it, promote it, follow up with them, make some posts. Maybe that's level 3. And then now they post about it. Maybe that's level 4. And then now that we're making this blog post, maybe we're on like level 5. So now there's someone who's kind of proven themselves. You've proven yourselves to each other, and kind of the routing process of someone that you have on your podcast. They go ideally one of 2 ways, right? Path number 1 is they become a client of yours. And of course, that's not everyone, but like you would hope that if you get 100 guests on your podcast, maybe like 2 or 3 or 5 become maybe one-off clients or recurring clients. And in my case, I have a done-for-you podcasting service, which means that if someone has shown themselves to go through that barrier of entry of being on a podcast, right? They are comfortable-ish being on camera. They've taken the time to be live. They've had an engaging conversation with me. They've promoted their app or their website or their book. Then they've proven themselves in a way. So maybe path number 1 is they become a client. Path number 2, which is where most people go, is then you become referral sources for each other, which means that, well, you are not ideal fits for buying from each other, but maybe I know someone for them, and maybe they know someone for me. And how the heck else are you going to get someone to engage with your content, pay attention to what you have, sign up for your affiliate program, use those affiliate marketing materials, unless they are someone who has a reason for interacting with you? And to me, I'm valuable to someone. So we have some of these amazing people, such as Alaric Heck is just like such a freaking superstar player when it comes to traffic and promotion being online. And if we sort by latest results, he's always posting on his own platforms, but he gets mentioned by Doug Morneau. He gets mentioned by Joe Fear. And sometimes multiple times, right? If they promote him again, if he's on stage, has a speaking appearance. And so I want to help him. I want to help him get to his goals, which is to remain famous, to get noticed. And a big problem, if you yourself have had trouble getting on stages, getting on podcasts, especially the bigger ones, they do their research. They look at your social presence and they see if you post, they see if you post consistently, and if you are marketing yourself as a guest for podcasts. They specifically look to see if you're on podcasts, but also if you promote the podcast that you're on, and if you promote those podcasts consistently, or if they go in and look and say, oh, he was on a podcast 4 years ago, he posted one time. Well, no. If you're posting all the time, especially for a show that you were on years ago, like that's what people want. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to, in the next video, we're going to look at this guy, Mike Peterson, and we're going to make a blog post all about him in the same vein as we'll go to our own profile, we'll go to our posts, we'll go to our articles, and so far we've made 2 of them. So I feel like I sort of have a process figured out, right? We have this Eric Lofholm post, and he bought from me yesterday because I was kind of trying to inch him along on buying a service from me, and I was following up, but I thought to myself, I have to deliver some value, and he was on my show, and so it's an easy way of, if you have those lists of maybes, if you have people that you want to interact with you or buy from you, or one of my favorite things here is if I have an upcoming meeting with someone, then maybe it's a chance to brown nose, right? And if you're meeting with someone tomorrow or next week, you want to get off on a good first impression, go back to that podcast episode and kind of help them to relive the fun they had and blog about them using ChatGPT and using the transcript of what you have from what the knowledge they dropped. You tag them, you get your own following to interact, they can reshare it, and then everybody wins, right? Especially you, because now you have all of this engaging, helpful content that has lots of likes and shares and comments and stuff like that. So let's get to, in the next video, we'll have a link in the description to creating this blog post for Mr. Michael Peterson, and I will see you there.